Welcome to Unshakable Belief, where we dive deep into stories of resilience, faith, and finding your purpose. I'm your host, Monica Connolly, here to help you unlock your inner strength and take action toward a life you love. Let's get started.
Today, I am honored to welcome my friend Azadeh to the show. She is an inspiring three-time best-selling author and transformational life and couples coach. Her journey is one of profound resilience, having overcome incredibly challenging circumstances in her early years living in Iran. Her courage and determination to rise above abuse has shaped her mission, helping others heal, reclaim their power, and live with purpose and joy. Together, we'll dive into her story and the wisdom she brings to those seeking transformation. Azadeh, thank you so much for being here today. It is such a pleasure to have you.
Pleasure is all mine. Thank you, Monica. It's just such a blast to be here with you.
In your books, you've shared some very personal and challenging experiences from your past. How did those early experiences shape your journey into coaching and eventually writing?
Such a good question, Monica. I really believe strongly that what we overcome we should teach. Strongly, it's within my value system to give it back. It's within my DNA to teach the navigation and the healing. It has to make sense. Me healing on my own in my house alone is not enough. I have to make it make sense on a bigger mission.
Definitely. So when you started your journey, because most of us, start this journey into coaching because of some kind of a traumatic event, whether it's a loss or abuse. What really were kind of those first steps that you took to heal from your trauma that you realized, oh, like I can teach this to others and help them do the same thing?
Yeah. Well, I had to go through the fire, the dark night of the soul first. I had to. My story, it all started with having a narcissist boyfriend that I was engaged to, who the abuse had escalated into hitting me and then ultimately breaking a beer bottle in my face. And thank God that there was a park ranger behind us that saw it. And when he took off, because he saw the blood, the park ranger called the police and he got pulled over half a mile and taken to jail. And I was taken to the hospital. And I had to, at that moment in the hospital, the way they were treating me, because I was also under the influence of alcohol and meth. I was a very much addicted alcoholic addict at that time. And the treatment that I was getting from the hospital right after what had happened was unbelievable. How I was so treated like a throwaway, a piece of trash. And that night, my parents, out of their fear of what was happening to me, they committed me that same night into a mental illness hospital. So the trauma was what I endured in 24 hours was horrific.
So
Horrific.
not only were you abused by your fiance, but then you were abused by the system that was supposed to be there to protect you.
Yeah, they smelled alcohol on my breath and they saw the gash in my forehead from the beer bottle and they immediately just connected that the addicts have such a have a social stigma of that we are less than and we are just junk throwaways of the world. And so the treatment there was horrific. And then my parents were, because the ex the ex-wife or girlfriend, his wife, ex something, because they had kids together. She was calling my parents and threatening because we were together, but I don't think she knew. So my parents got scared, and then they didn't know what to do with a girl 29 years old with this like horrific situation. Excuse me. And so
Bless you.
thank you. And so they took me to a hospital, and it was mental. They 51 feed me. I don't know if you know what that is. Okay.
Yeah.
So and then, so I had to be 5150'd, literally with stitches in my forehead and treatment. And I had to lay there, and I was enraged. I was so angry. I didn't trust anybody. I felt I was in constant rage. And back then, I don't think I know, because I'm a recovering addict coming up on 23 years of sobriety. But I also know that back then they didn't view alcoholism and drug addiction and domestic violence the way they do now. And that's just new. And so back then they treated it differently, which is sad for us that had to go through that back then. So, and you know what, Monica? I realized that I am only going, there's no more bottoms. This is as low as a person can go. There's no more. Death is the next thing. Death is the next thing. And I was 29 years old. I want to say I got sober after that, but I didn't. I still went after the guy, even though he got out of jail. And that's the crazy thing about abuse, is that most people don't know we get trauma bonded to our abuser. We actually get bonded from the abuse rather than a separation. And so I went and saw him again and did more drugs. And then ultimately, within just going, I can't do this, I checked myself into a 90-day free sober living where I was separated from the world, him, my parents, and the drugs. And that's where I got my foundation of sobriety.
Wow.
Yep.
That's incredible. What was that final straw? What was that breakthrough moment when you said, I can't keep living like this anymore? And how did your faith play into that?
Yeah, it's really good question. I just did not have the stamina to keep looking and getting drugs the way I was. I was robbing and stealing to get drugs, and I, under the influence, would go visit him again. And eventually I realized I can't even sit next to this guy without flinching. And I have become someone completely different than I aspired to be. I'm literally almost 30 years old, and I'm insane and paranoid and wounded. And that's when I said, I just can't do this anymore. I don't want to. I was living out of my car, and I just said, I just can't do this anymore. I'm a young girl. And I'd lived like that for about good 10 years, maybe 8-10 years.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I found this place. And that's where faith comes in, because I got on my hands and knees in a hotel room, and I go, if there's a God, please, please, I need you. I got to tell you, Monica, I don't even remember really clearly how I got the phone number to call where I went to stay for 90 days to get off the streets, the drugs, the abusive men. It was like, it was a divine guidance, but it's kind of like blinding. I can't really even, I think it was the yellow pages. I'm not even sure. Maybe it was the drug influence, but somehow I got on the phone and I called, and I had been to this place before, actually. And I left doing drugs because I was running around. And then I called. So wait a second, let me back up. So I found the phone number, somehow guided to this phone number to call that place. They took me in. Okay. 5 days later, I left to do more
Gosh.
drugs. The addiction was it was a bondage. It was a stronghold like nothing.
Yeah.
And then I was out there for about a few weeks and I was like, oh my God, it's worse. And then I called them again and they saved a bed for me and they said, come home. They said, come home. I didn't even know these people. They didn't care that I was born in Iran. They didn't care how many people I hurt to get my drugs. They didn't care how much drugs I did. They didn't care about anything except my sobriety and wellness.
Right. Just getting you healthy and keeping you safe.
Yes, and that's how I got connected to God because of the love they showed
Really?
me. Yeah, they showed me so much love. Oh my God. They were so loving to me, embraced me, loved me, supported me, fed me, gave me clothes, gave me, oh God, a shoulder to cry on. They gave me so much. 90 days, I didn't even want to leave. I asked at 89 days, please let me stay. And they're like, no, you got to go figure out how to do life. Yeah.
So after that, how did you, because you're in a very healthy marriage now,
Yeah.
how did you learn to get into a position where you could establish those healthy relationships after for so long going in such bad relationships?
Yeah. Such a good question. The first few years of my sobriety, I chose the people that would match my nervous system, which was more insane, avoidant, emotionally unavailable men. And after like just seeing how it's not a good fit. I met my husband when I was 37, so I'm 52 now. And my God, I don't know if I learned to be healthy first or I learned to be healthy in the marriage because he was sweet, calm, kind, loved God, and in recovery himself from codependency, but not alcoholism or drug addiction. And I knew this foreign thing is the real thing, but I ran from it in the beginning. I called him toxic. I called him boring. I called him crazy. But really, what was happening is I was learning how to receive unconditional love because I was so used to the crazies and the toxic narcissists that got me addicted to the highs and lows. He was consistent. He was kind. He was loving. He was honest. He was not dramatic. And so I was like, this is weird. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this. I actually ran a lot in the first year. I pushed back. So what I call now when I work with other women that keep choosing narcissistic men or emotionally unavailable, drunk, whatever you want to call it. But mostly narcissistic men, I say you got to burn through those layers with a nice guy. You
Right.
got to sit through it until it becomes your norm. It's hard. It's not
Yeah.
easy. Do you know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah, learning to re-regulate your nervous system and
Yes.
learning how to take unconditional love, because when you are in a situation where it's abusive, when you're in a situation where there is addiction going on, it's all forms of disrespecting yourself and not loving yourself. And you really have to, once you get free of that, you have to learn to love yourself to be able to let other people love you.
Yes. And coming from a man, it was
Yeah.
like it was so you're right. You said it perfect. I had to go through those layers with him. And now it's like he's my best friend. I mean, we've been together 15 years now, but he's my
And when you
sweetie.
talk about him, your
Yeah.
face just lights up.
Oh my God, thank you. Yeah, I can't wait to tell him about our podcast today because he's just I think, here's what I'll tell you. I tell him this, and I've never shared this on a podcast before, but I will tell you, Monica, because I know you're going to get it. I tell him because he's also a professional photographer. He does all my social media photography. But I tell him if I put you in a light room, because he's a photographer, we would see wings. We would see wings. He's an angel. He's an angel. And that's what God knew I needed. But I found God in sobriety. And I found God a couple years before I got sober. But then when I got sober, people showed me God of how they loved me.
You were at a point where you were able to take that unconditional love because you had started healing yourself, and you were able to then take that and continue to allow it to help you heal.
Yes. Yes.
So you work with couples,
Yes.
and I'm sure that in some of those cases you see a lot of the same behaviors that you put up with and went through, or that were exhibited by your ex. How do you handle working with those cases and not getting pulled back into that way of life?
Wow. I think the answer to that's wow, such a good question. So I'm going to say right away, I have a 98% success rate with my couples. The only times the marriage didn't work was they didn't let go of the drugs or the sex addiction or the porn addiction. Cause I get a lot of couples that have porn addiction and drug addiction. So it's one or the other or both. But how do I not get pulled into it? I really do it with God. I literally listen to Holy Spirit messages and then repeat it. You with me
Yeah.
on that? Powerful right there. I
Yep.
teach, although
Absolutely.
I have a degree and I have a lot of I'm also a couples counselor, a Christian couples counselor certified. And I have a degree in human services and bachelor's in human services. But God and the Holy Spirit know more than I do and they do. And so I'm led. And how do I not get pulled back into it? I'm not involved as much as God is. But I'll tell you, in the beginning I had triggers. And I would have as an empath, I would take on their pain too much. But as time went on, I really learned, with just like anything, just like you, we learn with the practice to get stronger in that realm. But it's really rewarding for me to bring marriages back into God principles because it works.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. So for a couple who is maybe just starting, they're at the point where they're ready to start reclaiming their lives and start down this journey. What is one step that they can take right now that would really put them in that right direction, that they can take and use today?
A couple that's struggling, like a husband and wife that's struggling right now. Okay. Excellent question. And it's a really simple one, but a super powerful one. How you think about your spouse is everything. If you've lost respect, if you judge, if you're constantly looking at what they're not doing, how you think about your husband or wife is how it's going to keep and bring strife and separation. Change the way you see your spouse. Be grateful. Look at all their good qualities. Get grateful for the things that they do. Accept the parts that they don't have. I'm telling you, that's like 6 couples counseling sessions right there. How you think about your spouse is everything. Are you in resentment? Are you looking at what they're not doing? Are you angry? Are you attacking their human parts and beings? All of that's got to go. You got to look at their good qualities daily. So that's
And
my
I think
answer.
going back to that, the way that you word that, it's really, you know, it's so easy to lay the blame on the other person and say, well,
Yes,
it's their fault. And if they would only do this, or if they would only do that, or if they said this. And it really, when you go through this journey of healing, you find that you have to turn that mirror on yourself a lot
a lot.
and really start with yourself and look at where you need to make changes. And in making those changes, your spouse or your partner they're going to see those changes. And a lot of times from what I've seen, they're like, well, wait a second, what are you doing different? You're behaving differently, you're acting differently, your attitude is different, things are going better. And
Mm-hmm.
they're more inclined to jump on board. They see you making those changes, which all starts with you looking in the mirror at yourself and deciding what qualities do I need to change? What do I need to drop at the door? And what do I need to do differently?
Yeah, you're so right. It's like that. You remind me of that. We see people through rose colored. No, we see people through magnifying glass. We see ourselves through rose colored. And I think it needs to be the other way. Not because we're excusing people's behavior or the way they are, but because we really can't change them. We can only change ourselves. Yeah, you
And then
know?
you bring them along for the ride and help them change.
Yes. Yes. But I will tell you, there's time. I've had narcissist spouses show up in my couples counseling and they have challenged me and they have seen it. And so there's times that I've been triggered because I have those old wounds internally. But narcissists, after 3 or 4 maximum sessions, will fall off because they can't do truth. They can only manipulate. And when I stand against the manipulation, they go away. But the ones that are both wanting to will stick and stay.
Yeah. Oh. So if somebody is listening today and they feel trapped by their past, they're in the same situation that you were in, needing to get free from addiction, they're needing to get free from a narcissist that they're in a relationship with. What would you say should be their first step to begin reclaiming their power and moving towards self-love and healing?
Great question. All your questions are excellent. They're just really good, by the way. You got to get help. You cannot, on your own, leave a trauma bond or an addiction by yourself. And even if you do, let's just say you're super strong and driven and you're able to, you're going to walk around in extraordinary amount of pain. So get the help, the person that has the results. Don't just get someone because they're cute or popular. And that's maybe they are, but get someone that has results. Don't get help and get help from someone that has results. Don't go to someone that's talk and no action. Get this person, because like I said, you need someone that's walked it to teach you what to expect, how to
Right?
heal, how long it takes to heal. You may be able to get off alcohol and drugs on your own, but if you don't deal with the symptoms and the roots, either you'll go back or you'll walk around. You'll never live the life you want to. So get the
Yeah.
help and get it from someone that has results.
Definitely. Otherwise, so many times we see people that, have walked down this path and then they don't do the healing afterwards. And they really stay in an emotional state where they're constantly in fight or flight. They are, they're using, coping mechanisms to numb everything. They're numbing all of their emotions, they're numbing all of their feelings. So they're clean in the sense that they're not an addict, but they have not done the work to be able to heal their mind and be able to move on to healthy relationships after that.
Yes. Amen. See, I could tell you've done the work because of
Yes,
that comment.
lots of work.
Lots of work, but I can hear it. I could hear it because
Yeah.
you wouldn't have known it. You wouldn't have known to say that if you hadn't, you know? And healing is not that hard if you know what you're expecting. I think it's really just mostly emotional and exhausting and kind of messy and some back and forth, but that's the breakdown of transformation.
Yeah. It's
You
and
know?
doing it consistently. When you feel like you're hitting a barrier, you know that that's actually a breakthrough and not a barrier, and you need to keep hitting at it to get through it because, like you said, it's like peeling an onion, and you are peeling back these layers and healing these layers, and each time you do that, you're going to come up against resistance. And so you push a little harder, you keep your resilience up, you keep going, and you peel that other layer off until finally you're at that point where you can accept love from others, you accept yourself and love yourself. And that's when you see the shift in these people.
Yes. Yes. And you see the shift and then you see them really blossom into their calling. I mean, but it's funny, it cracks me up and I'm surprised at how many people won't ask for help or talk about it. So many people won't. They'll hide it. It doesn't
Yeah.
go away. It doesn't go away. Well,
Because
there's
there's
a
so
lot
much
of
shame associated with
yeah,
it.
yeah. There's so much shame associated.
Society has really, society places so much shame on it that
Mhm.
um they're not going to ask for help because there's so much shame around it, but they don't know that has to be your first step in being able to step out of that is asking for that help.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think when we don't ask for help, we try on our own. Self-sufficiency is truly overrated. And we try on our own and we go back to the guy or the girl or the addiction. Well, that's the addiction too. It could be the guy, the narcissist, but or the drugs or the food. I mean, I had food addiction for a long time after I got sober because I just switched drugs, really. But um but because I think there's so much, like you said, shame in talking about it. And it kind of felt good. It was covering up parts I didn't know what to do with, you know? You know what I mean? I
Exactly.
don't know what to
Yeah.
do with this, so I'll eat it now that I'm sober. Or,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
all of it. I don't know what to do with this. I don't know what this is. Because
Right.
there's times I would Mhm.
You don't know how to process it, so you find another addiction that, is maybe just as dangerous as the addiction you came off of, and you go to that to try to help you figure out how to handle an emotion that you haven't learned how to handle yet, and then you end up right down in that same path, and you have to do that healing work.
Yes, you have to. And now it's like, my God, I just wish I could show people what the other side looks like because they're so focused on how it looks right now. And that's
Yeah.
not forever, you know?
So, if you had not gotten the help that you did, where do you think your life would be now?
You got great questions. You've got the best questions ever. You've got the best podcast questions, I swear. I would be either in prison, high on meth, drinking my life away. I did both. I would do meth and I would drink all day long. I would be back in that cycle or in prison because I spent some time in and out of jail in my 20s for all the things I did to get the drugs. So I'd be by now in prison, or if I'm not in prison, I would have been in an abusive relationship doing drugs, or
Yeah.
homeless and insane, screaming into the sky at a bus stop.
Oh my gosh. So you are a best-selling author. Can you tell us where we can find your books, where we can get a link to check out your books?
Yes. I have three best-selling. I'm a 3 times bestseller author. I've written 4 books. They're all on Amazon. Actually, one book I co-authored with another woman. I showed up as the counselor and she wrote her story, and I went after every chapter and wrote the diagnoses. But they are all on my website or Amazon. You can look at that. And if you want to write a book, you want your story out there, I also have a publishing house called Power Within that I take authors, whether they just want to do an ebook or they want to do a full on book. I literally take authors from A to Z. And so you can contact me for that as well. But all my books are on Amazon and my website.
Perfect. And we will put your link for your website and your contact information in the show notes so that listeners can go there
Thank
to
you.
contact you, whether that's for your coaching services or to get copies of your book.
That sounds amazing.
So, do you have any upcoming projects that we should know about?
Yeah, it's a good one. Any upcoming projects? I have a woman's group coaching that starts in January. With this group coaching comes with a workbook called Going from Repeating Cycles to Recovery Cycles. It's 3 months and you get one-on-one with me. We do group coaching and you get to write your story and I will publish it on an ebook in Amazon.
Oh my gosh, what an amazing opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. 3
Oh my
months
gosh.
with me, workbook, looking at our patterns, transforming together. I really believe in the power of fellowship. Together we grow. And the cool thing about it is I'm so excited is that you get to write your story and I will edit, publish, and you get your ebook. You get your story out there.
I'm gonna have to talk to you about the publishing part.
Yes, I was feeling that. I was feeling that. Like, I want to hear Monica's story and publish it. What a gift that would be, even if it's just ebook or a full-blown book. I
Right?
do ghostwriting. I have 3 people right now that I'm working with writing their books, and it's a blast. It's a blast.
Oh, that will be fun. Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, it is because here's the thing. We can get coached, we can get couples counseling, we can go to masterminds, we can go to events, we can do all those things. And we get a lot out of it. We get tons out of it. But an ebook is personal. It's you and you and you alone and gets your story out there. Because I will tell you, my books, and I'm just going to boast a little bit, if I may. One of my books is The 12 Steps of Recovery for Narcissistic Abuse. It's a workbook, and I created that for people that can't afford doctors, therapists, or coaches. And now it is being ran with a therapist in California as a group, so it's all about the help. My book is now also has helped people that have never even worked with me recognize a narcissist and left a narcissist. But the power of writing your own book and having that personal connection to that transformation without all the other people is really powerful because you're leaving a legacy for the world. One
Yeah.
person can read your book and go, "Oh my God, Monica or Azadeh, wow, your story inspired me." But it's you, it's just you, no one else. Your coach is not with you, your counselor is not with you, the event is not behind you, it's you. That's
Yeah.
what is so unique, and nobody can take that away. Nobody. It's on Amazon. No
Nobody
one
can
can
take
touch
your
it.
story away.
Yeah, nobody can take your story away. But the power of publishing your story is like opened up spots in my soul that I didn't even know were there. And God is beaming through it. It's really, I'm just going to tell you, I'm writing my 5th book right now because I can't stop. because I'm addicted to write. I'm addicted to writing books, Monica. But I love it. It's become, I can write a
Well,
book
and
in
look
my,
at how many lives are being touched with it. People
I
who
know.
who aren't, there's people that you're not accessible for, whether it's because of financial reasons or, because of safety reasons. And so putting this book out, you're still being able to touch those lives and help that person take that one step that they need to take to be able to regain their life.
Exactly. Exactly. You're right. And to be able to help them write it, get it organized in their thoughts, do an outline, hold their hand through the process, and watch them really gain confidence, like, I'm an author and I know how to run bestseller campaign as well, because I have 3 bestsellers. I know how to run that and bring you into the right audience to get that bestseller so people can see and know about you. So I know how to really help people that have been victimized by society or parents or addiction or marriage or abuse. Once they put their story out there, it's like, now it all makes sense why I did this, why I went through this. I'm getting my story out there. It's really powerful. It's just really powerful.
It's
So
very, very healing for
it
people.
is. You get your
Yeah.
power back. You get your
Yeah.
power back. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Azadeh, thank you so much for your insights today. We're definitely going to have to do this again and dive into a deeper conversation, but thank you so much for being here today and for the light that you bring.
I adore you and the God in you, Monica. You are a bright sun in a dark room. You really are. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. It has, being able to meet with you less than a year ago, and we just connected and have great conversations and have learned, I've learned a lot from you. And so thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Sending you the biggest hug, and I can't wait to see you in person.
Yes.
Thank you for joining me on Unshakable Belief. If today's episode inspired you, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, trust your journey, embrace your purpose, and let your belief guide you forward.